morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us for the second webinar of the CTT course. My name is Patricia Musomba, and I'm one of the course instructors for this course. Thank you so much for joining today. We are in the second webinar, which is based on the first module of the course on Introduction to Cybersecurity. And today we will be joined by a guest speaker to complement some of the course content that you've interacted with during this week. We will have an introduction, a presentation from our guest speaker, and then at the end we will have a question and answer session. And so if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section, and we will be answering some of them as the session goes on. And at the end, we'll also have a live Q&A section. So today we are joined by a guest speaker, Mr. Lawrence Muchilwa. And Lawrence is a distinguished cybersecurity leader and executive, boasting nearly a decade of experience in steering organizations through transformative information security programs, compliance enhancements, and risk management initiatives. His extensive expertise spans digital security, digital forensics, the establishment of national computer emergency response teams, risk and compliance management, cybersecurity operation centers, and incident response. Muchilwa's career is marked by a significant track record in governance, leadership, collaborative efforts, and pioneering product development. His engagement with regional and international entities has facilitated the design and implementation of comprehensive cybersecurity training programs catering to both private and public sectors. He currently serves on the management board of the Kenya Open University of Kenya, besides Nairobi, the Kenya Cyber Convention, and the Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. Beyond professional endeavors, he's also an active contributor to the open source community. He dedicates his spare time to mentoring aspiring professionals in the field and building and scaling cybersecurity communities, underscoring his dedication to the growth and resilience of the cybersecurity landscape. As you can see, our guest speaker has an impressive resume, and so please listen very attentively during his presentation. Over to you, Lawrence.
Wow. It's always refreshing at times, but also interesting listening to your own introduction. Patricia, thank you so much for an amazing job done introducing myself. I'm blown away. I'm so happy to be here. It's I believe my third time being part of this amazing program. Happy to be here and looking forward to an amazing discussion session today. So I'll quickly start off and share my screen. Screen should be visible now. Patricia, please confirm. Thank you. So my name has been introduced. The only thing that I failed to mention to Patricia was that I'm also the first Africa liaison. FIRST stands for Forum for Incident Responders and Security Teams. It's a group dedicated to helping with the capacity development for information security teams across the globe, and my role specifically has me working a lot with the Africa region. So that cybersecurity, when we talk of cybersecurity, what does it mean? What are we talking about? I've seen a lot of technical jargons being thrown around the field in a lot of discussion. Let's try break it down. So a good number of us either have a phone. It can be a feature phone. It can be a smartphone. Some of us might have or have access to an email account, social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, what have you. Maybe you have access to a laptop or any other computing device. Now, majority of us, from research, it has been shown that it has been shown that a lot of us will either, in our email address, will have a password, right? And we use that password because we don't have everyone to have access to our email address. If you're on social media, you also probably have a password. And some of us have even gone a step further and enabled what is typically called two-factor authentication, which basically means if someone wants to access your social media, they will need to enter your password and also enter a digit that will be sent to your phone, or use a fingerprint to access that social media. Let's bring it back closer. Phones. If you have a smartphone device, you either have a pattern or have a PIN. You have gone ahead and maybe you are also using biometrics. Essentially, what all of us are doing is we are practicing concepts of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is mainly concerned with defending computers, defending your phones, or defending your devices from malicious attack, malicious actor, and unauthorized users. So when you all defend all of these, you're also defending your data. You don't want this data to be lost. You don't want this data to be accessed by people who should not be having access to that information. Then, closely related to cybersecurity, I'll call it the twin brother of cybersecurity, we have information security. Now, information security is more and is concerned more with information. And this information can be on your phone. It can also be in your filing cabinet. It can also actually be under your mattress, under the seat, or even above the ceiling. The fact that you have this information and the fact that you are being very deliberate. If you're using a filing cabinet, you are locking that. If it's in your house in a specific room, I know I have a room with my files and my books and all of that, you're ensuring that is locked. All you are doing and all you are practicing is actually information security. So as you can see, information security, cybersecurity, as much as those terms might appear to be very complex, a lot of us are actually doing and practicing cybersecurity and information security. And what the next 30 minutes we hope is going to do will be just to cement some of the things you are doing and help us connect the dots. The dots in the sense that you'll figure out, so putting a password is actually part of cybersecurity, but you can do this better and improve on that. So building on that, cybersecurity and information security, we'll use them very interchangeably. Typically sits and is governed by three main concepts. What you're trying to do, either protect, achieve, is one: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And what do we mean when you talk over confidentiality? So let's go back and bring this even closer. You have your phone. This phone probably has a student records, or you have a flash drive. This flash drive has a student records. As a teacher or someone in the education space, you are very keen. You don't want this data to be accessed by anyone. Maybe you want to limit it to maybe the department, or also only yourself. What you're actually addressing here is the confidentiality aspects of cybersecurity. So confidentiality, when you talk of confidentiality as far as cybersecurity is concerned, we are basically focusing on securing systems, ensuring the systems and associated information are only accessible to the right users and by the right users. And depending on that information, these right users can be the teachers, can be the students, can be the school administration, can also be parents. Also, these right users can also be other stakeholders based on how you want them to access this information. The other building block is integrity. How do you trust this information? if a student came to school with way back, students will come to school with a note saying that the parent, I know, is a victim of this. I'll figure out a way of coming with notes to schools saying that my mom has allowed me to take the day off because I'm going to the hospital. And that hospital was just my own way of finding ways to skip school. So when you talk of integrity, when you're approached with such information, be it from the student, from the parent, from your fellow teachers, or from some random person on the internet, how do you ascertain that this information is actually valid and a true reflection of what it's trying to put across? That's all integrity focuses on. Then lastly, availability. I don't know how many of us here have ever accidentally deleted information, critical information. It can be your personal records or your school record. Or how many of us here have tried to log into WhatsApp. I know WhatsApp was unavailable some time back. I believe yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of schools actually use WhatsApp. They use WhatsApp to communicate with students, WhatsApp to communicate amongst faculty, exchange documents, WhatsApp to get in touch with parents, and also parents to get in touch with them. What happens when WhatsApp is no longer available? What happens when you accidentally delete your data or you lose your device? When you talk of availability, availability focuses on ensuring that these systems, these informations is available whenever it is required to be accessed by the relevant users. So in a nutshell, cybersecurity concerns itself with those three main pillars: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And as you go through this session and subsequent session, my fellow instructors will break this down further, and you will be able to see strategies, techniques, processes, very easy to do things that you can put in place to ensure that your information systems are confidential, they have the right integrity, and are available and accessible whenever you want to use them. So moving on, how do you achieve cybersecurity in and out of school and class? Starting off with our biggest and most critical stakeholder, the teachers and the teaching faculty. So we have a series of very easy, basic, low effort to do activities that we can actually do to achieve to achieve and improve our cybersecurity posture. The first thing is protecting your information computers with passwords. A lot of us have done a very good job, a very commendable job on ensuring that if you want to access my smartphone, you either need to have my PIN, you either need to have my pattern, or you need to have my password. We can borrow that and put it when it comes to documents. So you are able to protect your Word documents, your Excel documents with passwords. Same thing with computers. If someone has access to your computer, they will be able to have access to a lot of your information. They will be able to have access to your teaching records, school records. They will have access to your email accounts. Right now we have WhatsApp as a software, and it can be accessible via your web browser. They'll have access to that. So the fact of protecting your computer with a user account that has a password will help you achieve and improve your cybersecurity posture. Second thing, avoid sharing your password. Why do we say avoid sharing your password? And why do we say, or why are we recommending that you don't completely cut off sharing your password? One, practically and realistically, there will be cases where you need to share your password with a very small subset of trusted colleagues or partners. This just ensures, going back to availability, this ensures that if today I'm not available and someone needs access to my material, they can have access to my password. And as I mentioned, we have strategies that can be used to securely share your password. But you want to avoid sharing your passwords with a lot of people. You want to avoid using passwords that are very easy to guess. So passwords that are very easy to guess will be words that can be found in the dictionary. So for example, my name is Lawrence and my password is Lawrence, or my password is actually password, or my password is I love teaching at XYZ school. Those are guessable passwords that people can use software to crack or get access to them within a matter of minutes or at times seconds. We recommend using of passphrase instead of passwords. So a passphrase here can be something like, my name is XYZ, I went to this and I love teaching, then add maybe a number that is very unique to you. It's very long, and as much as those words might be found in the dictionary, they're not found individually when you put it as a passphrase. And I know one of the tricks that has been used is you can actually use passphrase in your various native language and avoid passphrase that are in English. In your own native language, it requires higher complexity for someone to be able to get it. Then we have password managers. If you are like me, for a very long time, whenever I wanted to type a password, I will default to something that was very easy to remember. The challenge with this was that as you default to words or passwords that are very easy to remember, you will reach a point where your brain can't store enough strong passwords, and it defaults to either you start reusing those passwords or coming up with weak passwords. What password managers do is they automatically generate these passwords and passphrases for you and give you an option to securely save them, so that at the end of the day, you don't really remember that password. The password manager will remember this password on your behalf, and it will be intelligent enough to know that if you are logging to, for example, the school platform, the school LMS, these password managers are intelligent enough to prompt you and tell you, for the school LMS, this is the password to use. Then a lot of us work with documents. If you want those documents to be safe, we talked of confidentiality and integrity. Instead of sharing the actual Word document, we recommend that you either print that document, scan it as PDF, then share. The moment you scan it as PDF, it makes it very hard for someone to alter and edit that document. The other approach is if you don't have access to a printer, you can actually save your Word document as a PDF and then share that specific PDF. Technically, there are still ways to recover the Word version of that PDF. However, in cybersecurity, our main objective is we want to make it very hard for someone with malicious intent to be able to recover that Word document. And if researchers taught us, a lot of these threat actors prefer the easy way out. So if they see that document is a PDF, they won't be interested in editing it unless they are really committed to do that. The other thing you can do is use inbuilt antiviruses and commercial antiviruses. You can update your devices, and lastly, backup information. For the three last points in the subsequent section, my fellow instructors are going to take us through how to use these antiviruses, how to update your devices, and also how to back up information, just to ensure that in that chance where you have a software that is malicious and that can be used to hack your device and compromise it, an antivirus is going to protect you. When you talk of updating your devices, our devices are always going through continuous improvement by the manufacturers. And these improvements are meant to make those devices as more secure. So updating those devices ensure that you always take advantage of the protections introduced by these regular updates. When you talk of backing up information, very important. If you lose your information accidentally or it's lost intentionally, a backup will be able to ensure that you retain access to, or you have access to, a copy of that previous information. Then the other stakeholders we have are our students. So from a cybersecurity point of view, when you talk to students, we need to be able to support them and help them cultivate the culture and mindset of one, minimizing sharing their personal information on social media. I was going through a case today whereby we now have fraudsters online who are waiting for us as parents, as teachers, as aunties and nephews, and all of us, for us to share pictures of students, of our nieces, nephews on social media. Once we share those pictures, they are able to edit these pictures, contact parents, and tell the parents that we have kidnapped your son, your daughter, your nephew, your grandchild, so on and so forth. Then they're able to show these realistic pictures, and then they'll demand ransomware. They tell you, look, we have your son, we have your daughter, he or he goes to this school, this is the picture, we took it today. Very realistic. As a parent guardian, you will panic, and in most cases you will want to either pay the ransomware, engage them further, just to ensure that your child is actually safe. So minimizing sharing of personal information, especially on social media, reduces chances of this happening, and this can actually escalate into actual kidnapping. We also need to be aware of the social media dangers. We have adult content out there. We also have child predators still on social media and on the internet. So we need to help and educate students to be aware of such content and ensure that they avoid and steer away from such content. The other thing is also around cyberbullying, misinformation and disinformation. How do you help the student to ensure that they are not part of a group of people who are actually engaging in cyberbullying? How do we help them seek guidance, protection, advice when they feel that being bullied, and also when they feel that their friends are also being bullied? In addition, all that you have discussed in this previous slide also applies to our students. So from password protecting their documents, minimizing, avoiding sharing passwords, all the way to updating their devices and backing up. Then just in general, the other thing to be aware of, when we install softwares on our devices, on our phones, we want to ensure that we are getting them from the appropriate and legitimate stores. So if it's your phone, you either want to use Google Play or App Store. If it's Microsoft or whichever operating system you are using, you want to ensure that you are getting this from the legitimate source. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you and admit, at times, this can be a challenge, trying to figure out which one is a legitimate store, which one isn't. Our hope is that this training and subsequent training will help you to be able to make that critical decision and filter out legitimate versus illegitimate content. Additionally, most school institutions right now will have IT personnel, your IT managers, your supports, IT or help desk support staff. Feel free to reach out to them and seek their advice. In my previous role, I was actually a support analyst, and we were always happy to help our staff, our colleagues, to actually navigate this cyberspace that at times is full of things that are out to harm you. As most schools also adopt that whole digital transformation mindset, we are seeing a lot of sessions via platforms like Zoom, platforms like Google Meet, WebEx, and what have you. Let's also take advantage of inbuilt defaults in this platform. So for example, Zoom, Google Meet, all of this help you to configure registration. And what registration does is it allows you to filter out students, legitimate students, versus strangers who want to be part of that protected environment for their own selfish and at times malicious motives. Enabling lobbies, explicitly admitting students into this platform, even colleagues on all of these platforms, are also additional ways you can guarantee a safety in that online space. Disabling sharing or presenting of participant screens to minimize session hijacking. We have seen a lot of these on Zoom, whereby you are having a class, then someone hijacks your session, masquerading as a students, and then they share a lot of inappropriate content. Then lastly, one of the main things that we should continue doing is continuous training and capacity development. And this is one of those strategies. The fact that you are here, you sacrifice your time to be part of this is actually one of the best way to ensure that you're improving your cybersecurity capabilities and competencies. So as we continue and go to the tail end of this, so in cybersecurity, we also have an emerging issue, which is user privacy. And a lot of countries have actually passed legislations around how you can collect data, not only for students, but data in general for users, and what you can and can't do with that data, and also how you need to notify these users in regards to what you're doing with your data. Now, this privacy policy cuts across. However, when it comes to students, given that a lot of them are minors, this privacy law requires us to be very deliberate in regards to how we handle information for minors. One key thing that I've seen come up across very often is that, one, from a privacy point of view, students, especially minors, they cannot give a consent. So if you need consent, the parent has to give that particular consent. So the consent here will actually revolve around the parent telling you, look, it's okay for you to take pictures of my child, or no, it's not okay, I do not permit you to take pictures of my child. I think a few years back, schools, we could take pictures, put them on social media. But right now we are seeing that this privacy law are very explicit. If you're going to do that, you need to ensure that, one, you got consent from the parent, and two, you explicitly told this parent that we are going to use your child's image for X, Y, and Z. Failure to do that will lead to can actually lead to a civil case in the school, either being taken to court, or you as a teacher being taken to court for failure to do your fiduciary duty. So we have just I've listed some countries that actually have data protection legislation meant to address this privacy. Our recommendation here is that a lot of these regulations are very easy to read. Create some time, just go through them so that you are informed and knowledgeable in regards to how you can, one, have your privacy as a teacher protected, and also importantly, how we can also protect the privacy of our students and other stakeholders. Then, as we wrap this up, talk of cybersecurity. What actually happens if you have a cybersecurity issue? How do you report it? How do you seek assistance? So first, as I mentioned, a lot of schools, a lot of institutions will have an IT team or an IT personnel. This should be your first point of contact. They will be typically well trained and well versed, and they will be able to advise and guide you in regards to navigating that cybersecurity issue or challenge you might be having. Second, most countries will have what we call a national computer emergency response team or a national incident response team. These are typically focal points for national issues and also focal points for citizens to report cybersecurity issues seek clarity from the government. So feel free to reach out to them. I know almost all countries, especially in the Commonwealth, actually have either a national SAT or a national security incident response team. Apart from the national SATs, we also have what we call sector-specific SATs that will typically cater for the education space. All these sectors are typically always very open to helping stakeholders, especially from the education sector, education space, and will be more than willing to help you out. Then lastly, I know this is not here, organizations also like FAST are very strategic and very deliberate when it comes to supporting schools, supporting institutions via partnering with, for example, Commonwealth of Learning, just to ensure that they have a dedicated spaces session geared around capacity development as far as cybersecurity is concerned, as far as cybersecurity teams are also concerned. Then lastly, if you are using a specific software application platform, all of these specific software, all of these platform will also have security teams tied to them. For example, right now we are using Zoom. So Zoom has a security team that will handle any issues that you might have. And these issues might actually be as simple as asking the Zoom security team via their support team, how do I protect my student against XYZ? Or how do I put a password here? How do I limit access to our Zoom instance? Same thing applies to Microsoft. Same thing applies to Google and all of those major vendors. And as I mentioned, a lot of these vendors will actually have a dedicated contact persons channel that will address queries, concerns, or cases that actually come from the education space. Then to wrap this up, we are going to do something very simple, very basic, but one that has a very huge impact. And that is essentially protecting our documents and our folders using a password, and also saving these documents as a PDF. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to quickly jump to my Word document. So I already had this open with just some sample text. Typically in your situation, this will be either a document you're working on. It can be an Excel document, a PowerPoint document, or what have you. The process is typically the same. So once you have your document with you, the first thing you want to do is just ensure you have saved the document, done with the editing. Once you're done with that, the second thing you'll do is you'll click on File. Now, before I proceed, depending on the Windows version you are running, the Microsoft Office version you are running, the steps might vary slightly, but they will typically be the same. So just circling back, you want to click on File. Under File, you will find this tab here, Protect Document. So what you want to do is you want to click on Protect Document, and here there are multiple strategies or approaches you can use. One, you can mark this document as final and make it read only. If you mark it as final, it won't allow someone to edit that Word document. Additionally, you can restrict editing, meaning that you only allow a subset of people to edit that particular document. For example, you might want to share the Word document with your fellow teachers to allow them to comment on that document. However, you don't want them to make the actual changes, in which case probably you want to share but with restricted editing. And also You also can have share it but restrict access, in that you share the document, Word document, but you don't allow anyone to edit or print it. So those are the various mechanisms you can use to protect your document. For this specific case, we are going to see how do you protect a document using a password. So once you click on protect document, your next step is going to be encrypt with password. So you click on encrypt with password, enter a password here. So something easy to remember, but something complex that cannot be guessed. I've been in that student space, and I know our students and even our colleagues, also family members, can be very creative and easily guess these passwords. So you want to just have something that is easy for you to remember. Recall we talked of passphrase, but hard for someone else to actually figure it out. So you enter your password, press OK, and you repeat that same password to validate it. Once you're done, you say OK, and now our document is protected. So I'll go ahead, close this document, and go to the folder that actually has that specific document. It's this document here. So if I try to open it, you see it will now prompt me to enter a password, and I can enter my password, and the document will now be open, and I'll be able to see the content of that specific document. So just to recap, you click on File, Protect Document, encrypt with password, and enter your desired password, then save everything. Now let's move on to how can you save this document as a PDF. Once you're done with editing, you click on Save As, specify where you want your document to be saved, then enter your desired name right here under File Name, then under Save Type, you will click on PDF. And we see the file name has changed to some sample text with PDF. Then once you're done with that, you can actually now click on Save. And if we go back to our folder, okay, yes, I continue. So if we go back to our folder, we should be able to see our sample PDF there. And if we open it now, it will be available here. One of the questions that we typically get here is how can we protect PDF documents with a password? I believe this will also be covered in the subsequent session, but it is also possible to protect your PDF document with password. In most cases, you might need additional tools for you to support you with this. So tools like Adobe Reader, Nitro PDF, and Foxit Reader that give you these capabilities to actually save that document as a password. To save a PDF with a password. Lastly, depending on the Windows version you have, when you save your PDF, your document as a PDF, there is an option here called Options. So if you click on this option, it gives you it gives you the option to encrypt document with a password. So you can still go ahead and encrypt that with a password also. Confirm it. And with Windows, as you save as PDF, you also get an opportunity to save your document, your document as a PDF that is password protected. So in a nutshell, that's a different way for you to save your PDF with a password. And as you can see, if you try to open it, prompts you for the password. Now, as we wrap this up, why is this important? It's important in the sense that if for any reason someone was able to access this confidential information that I don't want edited, or I don't want them accessed without my authorization, now they'll need to be able to figure out my password. And they'll only be able to access and view that content, edit those contents, if they have access to my password. So in a nutshell, that is one of the main strategies that we highly recommend to use when it comes to protecting your documents, and one of the most effective strategies when it comes to improving your cybersecurity controls and measures. With that, I come to an end of my presentation and knowledge sharing. I hope it's been useful. I trust that it has shared and given us some insights in as far as those simple and basic things that we can do to improve our cybersecurity efforts. Thank you so much, and I hand this back over to my colleague Patricia for the subsequent sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, for that informative session. We really appreciate your input, and I'm sure the participants appreciate the input as well. So we are now at the Q&A section, and during this session, we will answer the questions that you have posted in the Q&A part, and the course instructors and the guest speakers will be able to answer some of the questions. We may not get to all of them, but we will try as much as possible to get through as many as we can. Some of the questions were already answered during the session, and I just want to assure you that we will send you the recording, and we will also send you the presentation slides that Mr. Lawrence has used during the presentation. So on to the questions. I think we can begin with the ones towards the end, which were about the demo. And one of the questions was, can we protect folders as well? Can you take that, Lawrence?
Yes, we can actually protect folders. Patricia, I'm not sure if this will be shared in the subsequent sessions, but yes, we can protect folders with the password also.
All right. Are you able to share a quick process of how to do it, or is that something that we can share afterwards?
Yeah, I can do just take us through a quick process of doing it.
Okay.
So I trust my screen is visible. Perfect. So when it comes to protecting folders, in most cases, especially with Windows, you might need an additional software. In this case, I'm going to use a software called PyZip. So with PyZip, what you're going to do is we have our data in this folder. So I will right-click on the folder. I go to my PyZip. Say add to archive. Or I can still just go ahead and say encrypt. But in this case, let me see. Let me add it to archive. So PyZip, say add to archive. Where is it? Good. So when you say add to archive, it will give you an option here to do what? Set password or key file. So let me just cancel this. And when I say set password or key file, then here I can add my password or passphrase. Confirm it. Then I can also encrypt the file names. So there are different additional advanced techniques that you can use to customize your password configuration. Once you're done, you press OK everything, then your folder will eventually appear something like this, zipped. And once you share this out, if anyone wants to access that to unzip it, they will be prompted to enter a password. So different tools will do it differently, but most of them will revolve around you right-clicking the folder, identifying which tool you are using, going to that tool and activating the option to do the actual password protection. Patricia, I hope that addresses the question we got.
It really does, thank you. That is very comprehensive. So as you've heard, you can use additional tools to add passwords to folders as well. Let's see other questions. How do I retrieve my password on a document if I happen to forget it? I think this is a good one to address because whenever we teach any security recommendation, there are also risks to it. And so I think this is something you can address, Lawrence.
Correct. So remember we talked of the password managers. So ideally what you want to do is as you are generating these passwords, you want to save them on the password manager. The password manager ensures that if you ever want to remember that password, you have a central point that you can go to and retrieve all of your password.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. So yes, please save the passwords that you use on these documents. If you happen to password protect a document, ensure that you have saved that particular password on a password manager. This is something that will be covered during week 3 as well. So if you are not clear on what a password manager is, there's a good opportunity to also learn about it. And so that will be covered in week 3. Please note that a lot of times when you forget that password and you had not stored it anywhere, it will be very difficult to be able to access the documents that you password protected with that particular password. So if you password protect, make sure to store that password securely. Let's see other questions. There was a question on the CIA triad, on what are really the setbacks to ensuring availability of information to the users. Is this something you can handle, Lawrence, or any of the course instructors?
Patricia, just rephrase the question. I'm not sure I got clearly what was being asked.
So the question is on what really are the setbacks to ensuring availability of information to users. So I think challenges that could impede availability of information to users.
So the main challenges with availability is that for majority of the times, the platform we use, we have limited control over them and influence. For example, if a platform like Zoom goes down, there isn't really much you and I can do, and we need to rely on the Zoom technical team to bring that up. If a platform like WhatsApp goes down, same thing. So that's one way to look at things. Then the other way will be around backup. So backup is also an easy and a quick win we can use to actually achieve availability. But the challenge with backup here will be, at times backups can be slightly technical, and you need to help users break these technical challenge. And in most cases, it's actually not really a very hard technical challenge, because, for example, Google gives us Google Drive, right? And that is actually a backup strategy. So as much as we might have our school learning materials, your personal materials on your laptop, you can still upload them on Google Drive or OneDrive or all these many platforms. And this just ensures that if you do this regularly and maybe become a little bit technical and install the supporting application, it protects you, ensures that if you lose your device, all this information is backed up on Google Drive or OneDrive or whichever platform you might be using as a backup strategy. But it has a slight technical cover that you need to get over in order for you to effectively benefit from such technologies.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. Just to clarify, what application did you use to protect the folder?
So the application is called PyZip.
All right.
So I'll just
so
paste it
on the chat.
Can I paste the yes on the chat? Yes.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. Then on another question, let me see. There's a question on how about some hackers who bypass or crack passwords? What can be done to address this? Is there any course instructor who would want to take this as Lawrence types in the chat? Yes, Malusi.
With regard to hackers cracking our passwords, I think the primary thing to do is probably to prevent it in the beginning. So when you're designing or creating your password, the thing you want to do, or the thing you want to do particularly, is to make your password as strong as possible, and at least in a way that's still usable for you, so that if you're not using a password manager, it's a password that's strong, but you're still able to remember it and may not necessarily be cracked. So the way cracking would normally happen is essentially they would try to guess over and over and over up until they crack your password. So if your password is strong, sometimes it may take a really, really, really long time for a password to be cracked. So my general advice is at the get-go, have a strong password, and then use secure ways to share your documents if you're worried particularly about password cracking. We'll talk a lot more on password cracking in week 3. So if you have any questions about password management or safety around your passwords or password security, that's something we'll talk in depth about in week 3. Trisha?
Thank you. There's also a question on how can I protect my password manager? I think this is again is something that we are going to cover in week 3. And just to mention very briefly that password managers also require a password. So it requires a master password. It's kind of like the master key to opening a vault, so that then the vault stores all your valuables. And so that specific password, which is called the master password, is what you will be using to access all your other passwords. And so this master password needs to be very strong. It needs to be very long. It needs to be something that is unique, that is only known to you. So because this is the only password you have to remember, so you can make it as long as possible, and to make it very difficult to be able to guess or to crack. All right, I think we can take 2 or 3 more questions because of our time. There's a quick question here on, is it advisable for one to save their passwords on another person's gadget after using it to log into your account? And the easy answer is no, it is not advisable to do that, because then it means that that person whose device you saved your passwords on can also access your devices, your account, using that specific password. So for example, whenever you log into, let's say, your email address on someone else's device, always remember to log out after you have finished doing whatever it is that you're doing. This is especially also applicable when you go to, let's say, cyber cafes and you use the internet at the cyber cafe to access the internet. Please remember to log out, because if you do not log out, it means that someone else who comes to use the same cyber cafe to access the internet can be able to log into your email address. So please make sure you sign out whenever you log into someone else's device. Then there is a question on the difference between cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Mr. Lawrence, you want to take that?
Yeah, of course. So cybersecurity and ethical hacking. So we mentioned that cybersecurity is concerned with the protection of information. We talked of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, as part of achieving confidentiality, integrity, and availability, there are technical processes underlying. So these technical processes will be, for example, we want to protect your confidentiality, which means we need to figure out a way of you being able to securely store your information. We need to figure out ways of ensuring that your password cannot be cracked. Is it strong enough? So on and so forth. When we bring in ethical hacking, ethical hackers will be part of the team of professionals who are helping us, for example, crack these passwords in a manner that helps us identify weakness in maybe the strategies we are using, the technologies we are using, and based on their finding, we can now improve our processes. We can now improve our technologies. So I'll say that's the difference between cybersecurity and ethical hacking.
All right, thank you for that. Yes, Malusi.
I think also to add on to that, or to like echo. So essentially ethical hacking is a subset of cybersecurity, I'd say, because cybersecurity involves offensive security and defensive security. So offensive essentially is what Lawrence was mentioning with regard to ethical hacking. So it's people trying to break systems in order to see where vulnerabilities exist. But defensive security is people using technologies in order to defend information, to ensure confidentiality, and so on and so forth. So I'd say ethical hacking is a subset of cybersecurity in general, and there exist many other smaller technical sectors within cybersecurity. Patricia?
Thank you for that, Malusi. I think for now, we can stop answering the questions at that point, but we will also answer any questions that we did not answer today in a document and share it together with the webinar recording and the presentation slides as well. So that is something that we are going to make sure that all questions are answered. So be on the lookout for that as well. Just to tackle a few course-related questions that I have seen on the Q&A. There's a question on whether we need to respond to all the course forums. So the forums that you need to respond to are the ones that are pinned by your course instructors. They will appear at the top when you click on forums on the course platform. They have a pin, a red pin on the side, and that shows that that is a forum that you need to respond to because it is part of your course coursework, because a lot of these forums have activities that enable you to apply some of the concepts that you have learned through the course. So you only need to respond to the ones that have been created by your instructors, but we also encourage you to interact with other forums that have been created by your fellow participants, because there's a lot of knowledge as well being shared in these forums. So every once in a while, just take some time to go through the forums that have been created by your fellow colleagues. It will help you to look at different, it will help you reiterate some of the lessons you have learned through the course. So yes, that is the answer to that. And again, for all the recordings of webinars that we have, we will be sending them to you. They will be shared as announcements that go to your email, and they're also accessible on MOOC for Dev platform that you're using to access the course content. So please also, you can access all these announcements in one place that is under announcements. You do not also need to be a part of the Telegram group. It is not a course requirement to be a part of it, but if you desire to be a part of that group, please do join. The instructions are within week 0 of the course on how to join the Telegram group. We interact there the same way we interact on the forums. People can resolve your challenges that you face during the course. And this is still the same way. You can reach out to us on email, but you can also interact with us on Telegram. We are trying to provide as many avenues as possible for you to be able to interact with your course instructors and your fellow participants as well, so that you can learn together and learn from one another as well. So we are now at the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to stay with us through the entire 1 hour. And thank you very much to our guest speaker, Mr. Lawrence. We have really enjoyed your presentation. It was very informative, and I'm sure I share the sentiment of many in the chat that have said that the session was very informative and very engaging as well. Thank you very much for showing up, and enjoy the rest of your day.